welcome to episode 253 of Harvested from the Farm, our Friars on the Farm. And with me is Roy.
Oh man, today's our trade deadline reaction day, and holy cow, the shelves are looking bare right now, Donovan.
Yeah, I mean, it is looking pretty thin. You know, that's the price of doing business. It had to be done. Like the big league team needed help, and looking at this year's, the amount of talent we have left in the system after the Arise and Dylan Cease trade, to what the market was set on, what it was going to cost to get anything. I'm surprised that we got what we got with what we have left. Really.
Yep. The rent is too damn high. Well, this week we've got some trade recaps for you. We're going to summarize the draft signings real quick. On our MILB news, we've got some transactions and a suspension. We've got Madfriars interview with Henry Baez, and then we've got the affiliate rundown for you.
But first, let's get real quick into just what the weekend the Padres had in Baltimore, and it's this Heckle and Jide, Heckle and Jekyll and Hyde team of ours. It drives me crazy, how they can just absolutely dominate for a handful, a couple of series, and then we'll see what happens now as the Dodgers are in town. But playing, winning 7 straight, almost winning 8 straight it's insane.
With a no-hitter in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they went in, they swept the Nationals. The third game of that series, Dylan Cease threw a no-hitter. Incredible game. What an accomplishment. And then they go to Baltimore. I know Baltimore's been reeling a little bit, but they've been one of the best teams in baseball all season. Yeah. They go in there, they take 2 out of 3 from a good Baltimore team. So it's got to make you feel good. So now we're going to talk about the trade deadline here and the moves that they've made. But it seems like so many of these losses have been because they've lost a late lead or something's happened in the middle of the game and things have just gone sideways. So by fortifying the bullpen, hopefully that's going to help shore up one of those weaknesses where some of those games that have gotten away from them, maybe in the second half, you'll see those games you won't even notice. They'll just cruise right through those innings.
Yeah, there's been a little bit of bending of some of the bullpen guys. I mean, obviously, Elliot de los Santos, Adrian Morejon kind of giving up some runs. It happens during the season, but now that we're kind of on this run and we really like Preller, we need to make the playoffs. The Padres need to make the playoffs for Preller, I think, to keep his job. And the market, once again, being so high for starting pitching that he went bullpen. And if we can't get the starting pitching and treat Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove return as kind of our trade deadline acquisitions, shoring up the bullpen with what we have left in the farm, certainly is what he did. It was a route he took.
It was. So let's run through those trades. So first of all, the Padres picked up right-handed reliever Jason Adam from the Tampa Bay Rays in exchange for Dylan Lesko, Homer Bush, and JD Gonzalez. I know this one's going to sting you personally. I know you were a big HBJ fan. We've enjoyed following him. He's a charismatic guy. He's crazy athletic. He's, looks like he may be destined for great things. And then Dylan Lesko has got all the talent in the world in his right arm. It's just a matter of being able to control it. But you bring back Jason Adam, who's got a couple more years of team control. He's not just going to be here this year. He's going to be here the next 2, and lockdown back end, 7th, 8th inning kind of a guy. Looks like somebody who could close if he was asked to. So for the first move, this was a couple days ago. I thought it made sense. The price seemed a little high at the time, but Kyle Glazer had some interesting context. So he tweeted out this right after the trade. Important context for understanding the trade. Padres officials have been very concerned about how much Lesko's command not only hasn't come back post TJ, but is getting worse. Stuff is fantastic, but the command is extremely poor right now. We'll see if the Rays can fix him. And then he went on to say, just to add background on this, Lesko is 1-9 with a 6.46 ERA at High A Fort Wayne this year. In 69 and 2/3 innings, he has 52 walks, 12 hit batters, and 10 wild pitches. His fastball command in particular has been extremely poor. Rays are making a bet they can fix him. And that matches what we've heard. Like you go watch him and the stuff is there. Everything's moving. He just has a hard time finding the plate right now.
Yeah, and I've watched at least 9 of those starts, and they are incredibly hard to watch. It's just so frustrating. You see, what he was before Tommy John um, into this season, it's just hard to watch because you just can't. The control isn't there. The there would be flashes of just absolute dominance. The changeup would be there, and then he can't locate the fastball, and he would just walk guys and get behind in the count. And then when he'd get behind the count, he'd throw a strike, and they would pounce. And I would struggle to watch a lot of these starts because it was just so heartbreaking and hard to watch because you saw what he was before and what he is now. And believe me, it's early. There's a good chance that he'll eventually fix this, but that's kind of the price you pay when the Padres knew what they were getting when they signed him already, post Tommy John, and then came back last year, was doing okay in small stints, but this year was hoping, and we kept talking about it on the pod about taking that step forward, and we kept every episode we were talking about a little bit of a step forward, 2 steps back, a step forward, 2 steps back. And I think they really bought low on Lesko for what we got. And then adding HBJ, as much as we love it, the great personality, fantastic family. You look at that swing, and he is on his knees every time he swings the ball. So he's losing a lot of power there, and he doesn't get fooled on a lot of off-speed stuff if he keeps the swing at where he is. Granted, he's got 43 stolen bases. He's second in the Midwest League. I don't know who's leading the Midwest League, but it seemed like he was stealing a couple of bags a game. If he could fix that, might be able to be an everyday player. But right now, as it stands, evaluators and everyone's saying that he's a platoon player, a late defensive replacement, certainly a pinch runner, and a contributing player, but not necessarily impact player. And for JD Gonzalez, for a little bit of time he was in Lake Elsinore, a lot of upside, just started getting into affiliate ball, but once again in A ball, very young, several years away from making any kind of impact in the upper majors, or sorry, in the upper minors. I think the Padres did a really good job here. We'll see what Jason Adams does moving forward, but on paper that does look like a lot. But in reality, if you follow these guys like we've been following them, they are kind of selling a little bit low. They're getting a lot for a little bit of low on ball, 3 of these guys.
Yeah, and I want to make a point that AJ Preller isn't making these moves like in a bunker somewhere. He is surrounded by people that understand these players. They have an idea of what they see, and what kind of future vision they have. So you've got guys like Rob Marcello, director of minor league pitching. You got Tom Eshelman, the pitching coach that's in Fort Wayne. That all of these guys that we talked to this last offseason just gushed about, how insightful he was. And so if they're working with Lesko and the things that they're seeing out of him, and the things that they're trying and things aren't working, yeah, at some point you kind of run to the end of your rope with
Yeah.
someone, and it's like, I don't know what we need to do to get him right. Now the Rays, they're known for taking players off the scrap heap and turning them into all-stars. And Dylan Lesko, by all means, is not on the scrap heaps. He's still on several people's top 100 MLB prospects.
Yeah.
But we're gonna have to watch him from afar now. So the next move today, today I was watching, I've got at work, I've got Twitter somewhere buried on my computer, and I keep bringing it up and refreshing it and checking my phone to see the notification. Then all of a sudden at the end, there was this flurry of moves. But the big one today, and the one that cuts us a little bit personally.
Yeah.
Padres acquired left-handed pitcher Tanner Scott and right-hander Brian Hoeing from the Miami Marlins in exchange for right-handed pitcher Adam Mazur, left-hander Robbie Snelling, and infielders Graham Pauley and Jay Bashirs. 2 friends of the podcast, a couple of others that we've been following their careers very closely. Mazur and Pauley both made their major league debuts this year. I was excited to see those guys hopefully, continue to produce for the team this year. And then you look at next year and beyond, and you bring Snelling into the mix. And then down the road, I'd like to think that Bashirs has the potential to be a MLB prospect someday. But man, that's a haul to give up for 2 relievers.
It is. And guys that have, Mazur doing so well in Double-A, getting a cup of coffee in Triple-A before he had, by desperation, having to come up to the majors and kind of like, welcome to the show, kid, figure it out. That's very unfair to Adam Mazur, and we know that he pitches a lot better than he has here in the majors, but it showed really early that he needed some more fine tuning in AAA, and even in the PCL, it's not the greatest place to kind of take your lumps but try to develop at the same time. I still have a lot of hope for Adam Mazur to be a mid rotation guy. I don't see him as an ace or a number two, but ceiling is a three, maybe a 4 or 5, definitely. And Robbie Snelling, as much as we love that kid and the bulldog that he is, um, has had his struggles this year in full season in Double-A. I think he needs to chase a little more velocity. I've been open about that here on the pod, about him needing a couple more ticks on that fastball. He does it without the velocity, the off-speed stuff, the changeup and the curveball aren't as crisp as as you need it to be in Double-A. And certainly there's a ton of upside there with both those guys. But once again, they're a little bit selling low to fix what we need now. What we need now is bullpen help for the big league team. And Graham, great kid, another great kid, a great friend of the podcast, a struggle in the hitters league. Granted, he, as well as he did in Double-A, it kind of goes to show you once you get to Triple-A, it is a different ballgame. It's another level higher. And if you're going to hit 210 in Triple-A, that show in the Pacific Coast League, truly, it shows you that there's a lot more to learn, and we need help. The Padres need help right now. So, and Jay Bashir's, he was fun in Elsinore, absolutely torn it up. He was finding his feet in High A. Certainly, there's lots of potential there, but he's, I think, 22, 23 in High A. Just once again, it seemed like we are selling what. Really high on these guys, but in actuality, if you look at the numbers, they're not playing as well as you would expect. But that's what we have on the farm, and that's what evaluators like, and so that's what it took to get a Tanner Scott and a Brian Hoeing.
Yeah, and so you look at Graham Pauley and you try to find a path to the majors. Even if he was hitting the cover off the ball
Right.
right now, they'd have a hard time finding a spot for him on the big league roster. And Mazur, yeah, as much as you want to believe in the guy, he wasn't getting it done at the major league level. It was clear that he's not ready. And I mean, I agree with you. I think he's going to be good down the road, but the Padres don't have the patience to wait for down the road. They need to do what they can to win now, and so that's what this move is for. So now you bring in Tanner Scott, who was the Marlins closer. He's a left-hander with just absolutely devastating stuff. So now I'm curious to see how he's going to slot in, if he's going to be like strictly the setup guy, or if they're going to have him and Suarez kind of based on pitching matchups and who's fresh, who gets to go in and close. But as hard as they've ridden Suarez, bringing him in for these 4 and 5 out saves, yeah, you got to figure that fatigue's going to catch up at some point. So now you bring another closer, closer B in to the mix. That's going to keep him fresh through the rest of the season. And then Brian Hoeing, he's done some starting. He's been a reliever primarily. This year, the starts that he's had have been more of as an opener, like 3 innings at a time. But he gives you some length. He's more of your long swing man, middle relief kind of a guy. And the Padres have been lacking that. These games where you go and somebody, so Vasquez goes out. And sometimes Vasquez is really good, goes 6 innings and strong. But then the other day in Baltimore, he went out and it was pretty clear from the onset he didn't have it. And so he was done after like 3 1/3. So then what do? You're looking for somebody that can come in and give you 2 or 3. And that's where somebody like Brian Hoeing may come in to be very valuable. So Scott is here for the remainder of this year. He's purely a rental. Hoeing, I believe this is his final year of pre-arbitration. He begins arbitration next year. So they have 3 more years of team control with him. So Jason Adams is a little on the older side. And interesting fact, Jason Adams was once in the Padres organization.
Right. We
So,
released him in Double-A.
well, I did some digging on it. So he was drafted by the Royals, spent some time with them. In 2014, they let him go, and he was out of pro ball for 3 years. And then it
Really?
wasn't until the Padres signed him in 2017. And that year, he only made, I think, 3 appearances with Double A San Antonio. So I'm curious if he was rehabbing something or dealing
Right.
with nagging
Injuries happen
injuries.
and just
Yeah, and then he bounced around, went to the Cubs, went to the Rays, and it wasn't until after being with the Rays for a while that finally something clicked, and he turned into this devastating back end reliever. So now Brian Hoeing, I was listening to on my drive home, they were playing the sound clips from the interview. So I was listening to AJ Preller, and he was talking about getting him with Niebla and Marcelo and these guys. I feel like they see some things in Brian Hoeing that they can adjust, some things
yeah.
that they can tweak, maybe tweak his pitch mix, maybe slide him over the other side of the pitcher's plate or something like that. Some little adjustment that can unlock something different from him. And the fact that he started in the past, maybe they see a path for him to become a starter again. Who knows? So you're you're getting rid of 4 guys that aren't going to contribute to the team right now, bringing in 2 guys that are definitely going to help you through the rest of the year, and in Hoeing somebody that's going to stick around for a while after that. I mean, it makes sense. I just seeing Snelling in that deal. Yeah,
Yeah.
if it had been Austin Krob or somebody just one little
Jared
notch lower,
Kohler or
I
Ryan
would have felt a
Berger.
lot better about it. And I hope Austin Krob isn't listening. I heart you, Austin Krob. I'm glad you're
We
still with
love you,
us.
kid.
But Snelling, I believe the great things are out there for him. So
Yeah.
it stunned a little bit to see him go. I thought if he was going to go, it was going to be in a deal that brought back a starting pitcher
Yeah.
or maybe a position player. There were talks about them seeking an outfielder at some point.
Man, it's a tough market. It's a tough market
It
this.
is. Yeah, the price is high. Okay, so
Okay, so
then
then what?
speaking of prices, okay, so they shipped Daniel De Los Santos out. So they got to make room for these guys, right? And who's been struggling in the bullpen? Daniel De Los Santos has been just bafflingly
Yeah.
frustrating. He goes out there and he's got the high velocity, he's got the nasty stuff, but guys are hitting him. He's walking guys, he's drilling people, and it's just he's a mess out there. So they sent him to the Yankees along with Thomas Balboni Jr., right-handed pitcher, and they brought back outfielder Brandon Lockridge. He's 27 years old, righty, center fielder. He's batting 295, 405, 383 in AAA Scranton Wilkesboro. So he's an interesting kind of a depth outfielder. But
Okay.
really, the move here was just to unload De Los
Yeah.
Santos's salary.
Yeah. And Balboni was pitching. Was starting to find his feet in Elsinore, so it's a little tough to see Balboni go.
Right. Balboni looks like a pretty electric arm. Crazy strikeout rate in like Elsinore. Yeah, but a lot of single A guys struggling with walk, struggling with command, but guys figure that out. That's what they're there to do.
Yeah. Well, and both these trades and this last one happened when I left work at 3 o'clock. And I'm still refreshing Twitter because I know that that's 3 o'clock from the deadline, but these deals are already to the to MLB, and they're already in the works. So we acquired a left-handed pitcher, Martin Perez from the Pirates, in exchange for Ronaldez Jimenez from the DSL.
Yeah, Ronaldo Jimenez, he only made 3 appearances for the Padres DSL team this year. So who knows? I mean, the numbers are good when you look at the stat lines, but we've learned not to scout the stat lines. So total lottery chip. And you're bringing back Martin Perez. So left-handed starting pitcher. His ERA is nothing to get excited about, but the guy's eating up innings. And that's kind of what the Padres need at the back end right now. Somebody that can just go out
Yeah.
there and give you 5 innings each time he goes out. Even if he doesn't have it, he's going to go out there and wear it. But in the past, he was really good. Martin Perez has been one of the better pitchers in baseball at times in his career. He was signed as an amateur free agent by the Rangers in 2007. Came up through the
Okay.
Rangers organization, so him and Preller go back. It seems like these ties seem to come up all the time. Preller bringing back somebody that he scouted 15 years ago. 15, yeah, that's 15 years ago.
Woo!
So there you go. So we've got a number 5 pitcher. We've got 2 guys at the back end of the bullpen. You've got a swing man. The only other thing that I thought that they were going to go after was an outfielder. But today in warmups, there was Fernando Tatis Jr. out there wearing spikes in gym shorts and all that stuff. But he's throwing, he's swinging a bat. Sounds like he's going to start a running progression soon. So maybe he's not as far away as some would like to think.
Yeah, I don't. And Preller's presser, Marty Caswell, I think, asked him where he was, and he would not say when he would be back, but that he would be back. Um,
Right.
and as well as the team has been playing without him, adding him, say at the end of October, or sorry, end of August, or in 3 weeks or so, that's just like an extended deadline grab, and another bat. So that could be really good for the team.
I mean, look at what Xander Bogaerts has done since he came back
Yeah.
from the injured list, and just caught it took hit the ground running with his head on fire.
Yeah. All right, so
All right,
that's it. So let's move on to the draft signings, and
draft
we'll go.
signings. Yeah. So I mean, it's this is the business side of it, and I like to
Yeah,
keep track of the money. I make my little spreadsheet and track all that stuff. But now the Padres have announced the signings of all of their round 1 through 10 draftees, leaving only $44,175 left in their pool. That includes the 5% overage. I haven't seen anything about round 11 through 20, but
right.
almost all of them were college guys. The only high school guy was Chase Fralick. At this point, they're not going to sign him. He's, the first $150,000 doesn't count towards the pool for all of those round 11 through 20 guys, but you're not signing a high schooler for $175,000. He's going to go play baseball at Auburn. I feel like he was maybe an insurance policy if one of the first 10 round guys didn't sign and they had another 400 grand sitting around, then they could scrape their pennies together. Okay, here's $1 million. Come play with us. But nope. So there you go. There's your 2024 Padres draft summary.
Yeah, and getting all those guys, get them into the. I think I've already seen Jerry Espinosa taking pictures of those guys in the stands. The ACL just wound down this week with the becoming the champions of the ACL. They'll go to Instructs, and we'll see if we can get some of these guys out to an affiliate or two before the end of the season. So there's still a solid 2 months of minor league season to go. So we'll see how that goes. But um,
It was kind of
yeah,
funny that before all those announcements came out, Jerry Espinosa was posting pictures of these guys in the dugout.
yeah,
So I'm looking like
right.
that's Cash Mayfield. He hasn't the signing hasn't been announced yet, but there he is in Padres in the dugout. I'm sure he's not on the roster, but he's there. And you see the pictures on Instagram of this guy
Yep.
signed, that guy signed, but then the announcement doesn't come out for a couple more days afterwards. So we have one more piece of big league news, and this is one that is near and dear to our heart. Friend of the podcast, Blake Hunt, is finally getting his call up today.
Nice.
Congratulations. Welcome to the major leagues, Blake Hunt.
Absolutely love that kid. We talked to him so long ago, and even back then, he was just it was a clinic. It was a clinic on how to catch and just everything about catching. Um, we've kept in contact with him, periodically throughout his career as he makes his rounds around major leagues. Went from Seattle, now he's with Baltimore. Just a great kid. Always got back to us, and then just this weekend I caught it, and we shot him a text and congratulated him. Friend of the podcast, Hawaiian K out, Joey Cantillo made his major league debut with the Guardians against the Phillies, and although gave up 3 runs and they won, he was no decision, but made his debut against a
Did you see
really
who his
good
first
team and did
strikeout
pretty
was
good.
against? You see who his first strikeout victim
Yeah,
was? Bryce Harper.
absolutely.
Oh
Yeah,
my God, man, that's one I would seek him out and like, hey Bryce, can you sign this ball for me?
right.
That's the one I struck you out with. So, do you know where the Orioles are going? So, Blake Hunt was traded to from the Mariners to the Orioles earlier this year. He's been on their 40-man roster. He's been an injured list stint away from getting the call up.
Right.
So, did you see what happened in yesterday's game? James McCann.
Is a beast.
He is an absolute. I mean, I can't imagine the guts that this guy's got. He took a pitch across his nose and just absolutely. I mean, his face
Yeah.
looked like a
Yeah.
catcher's
The
mitt.
nose was
And
like
Yeah, and so I don't know how they got the bleeding to stop, but he's got the stuff wedged in both both nostrils, and his eyes all puffy. And he stayed in and catch the remainder of the game because it was game 2 of a doubleheader, and you didn't want to have Adley Rutschman have to come in and catch whatever 14 innings of baseball in one day. So I mean, it's just an absolute hero for everybody on that team. So today they brought up Blake to be the third catcher. He's going to be the third catcher on the roster for now. I think
All right.
McCann's trying to avoid the injured list every way he can. But any way you can get it, man. He's one of those people that you could fit in the smallest ballpark in America, the
Yep.
smallest major league ballpark. You can still fit every major leaguer that's ever played in that one park. And Blake Hunt has a seat in that park. And so does Joey Cantillo.
Absolutely.
So where are the Orioles going next? They're going to Cleveland.
No. Oh, really?
Yes. They start a series on Wednesday. Today they're playing the Blue Jays, but on Thursday they start a series against the Guardians. How cool would it be for Blake to get to face Joey in a major league game? I mean, just like imagine dream scenario. Blake gets his first hit against Joey Cantillo. I mean, that's something he could hold against him forever.
Right. Here, I'll give you one. I'll give you one.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, it's fantastic. It was great to see Joey on the mound, and I'll keep an eye on see if we can't get a Blake an at bat from Blake Hunt during his stint with the big league club. But let's move on. We still got a ton to talk about. A bunch of movement while over this past week. Earlier this week, Jared Kollar transferred up to El Paso from AA San Antonio. We'll have his debut in the affiliate rundown. And right-hander Henry Baez has been transferred also from High A Fort Wayne to AA San Antonio. So that post-draft, escalator of movement is starting to happen. And Henry Baez, guys, do not sleep on this kid. Not a high prospect. Not he's not on any prospect list, but he is absolutely doing well. He did pretty well in his debut in AA. So yeah, some of our shiny objects in Dylan Lesko and Robbie Snelling were traded away, but there's still some players in the system, some pitching in the system that it certainly is interesting. And Isaiah Lowe and Henry Baez and certainly Jared Kollar are a couple of those guys.
Right. And then one more move that is a little bit major league adjacent. Padres selected the contract of Tirso Ornelas. At the time, I thought that meant that Luis Vries was going to go on the injured list. This was right after the All-Star game. That obviously didn't happen. But again, Tirso is just one move away from becoming a major leaguer. So happy for him. People were speculating that maybe it had something to do with a contract clause.
Yeah. Absolutely. If you don't have me on the 40-man by this time, you release me, or and he's done well enough. And we've talked about it, and he's just one Bryce Johnson getting injured from making his major league debut. And I don't know I don't know why they're keeping him down there. I think they want to see more consistency from him to really make sure that he's not just getting PCL numbers, but he's like, I think, third in the league in average, and he leads the team in home runs. So he's not hitting, 30 or, 20 home runs, but I think he's got 12, 13 home runs. But it's certainly great to finally see that he is very, very close to making his major league debut. And I wouldn't be surprised if we did see it a little bit later on this season.
One other reason why I think Bryce Johnson is stuck on the major league roster as long as he has is that Jackson Merrill's been playing center field every single day.
Yeah.
And so right now, Bryce Johnson is right behind him on the depth chart. So if you sent him down, then what happens if Merrill gets hurt? How do you give Merrill a day off every once in a while? I know Tyler Wade could probably go out there and play. I mean, he can play everywhere. But yeah, Tirso can't. At this point, I don't think Tirso's considered at center field, and you're definitely not putting David Peralta out in center field.
No. Tirso is strictly a left fielder. Like he's and we have a left fielder in Jurickson Profar. So he is blocked, but I think he's blocked in a good way where he continues to get better, continues to hone his craft. God, I hate saying that, but just continue to develop.
That's our way of coping.
Yes, our copium.
Yes. All right, so we got a little bit of bad news here. Womp womp. So a Padre minor leaguer was suspended for a positive drug test. every once in a while, one of these stories comes around. And when I saw this pop up, I kind of startled me.
Yeah.
But then I read the story. Okay, so St. Louis Cardinals right-hander Henry Perez, Padres left-hander Ibrahim Jimenez, and free agent left-hander Vries were suspended for 56 games each last Friday following positive tests for performance-enhancing drugs. Jimenez tested positive for nandrolone. He's 17. He signed this past January for a $10,000 bonus and was 1-1 with a 3.6 ERA in 4 starts, 3 relief appearances with the DSL Gold Padres. So, what does that even mean when a DSL player gets suspended for 56 games? Like, is the DSL season isn't even 56 games long? So does that just mean he's for the
Yeah.
next year?
Yeah. Those guys are going to be gone. I don't know where they are with the DSL. I think they already had the playoffs. A
Yeah,
couple
it's
weeks,
over.
yeah, a couple weeks back. It'll go into next year. It'll count if they bring him stateside. I think the Cardinals released Jonathan Frias. I think they released him after it. We'll see what happens with Jimenez. But yeah, he's in the DSL, so he's quite a ways away from making it stateside. So unfortunate as it is, it's a $10,000 signing. That's why you have so many guys in the system, and there have been rumblings, and we haven't really talked about it too much lately here, but performance enhancing drugs are our issue, not only in the DSL, but certainly in the academies where they're getting really good at being able to cycle through that stuff without getting caught. And I know some of these partnership
Right.
academies are major league um, partners, and I'm sure they fall under some rules along that line. But it is no secret that it's in the DSL, or sorry, it's in the Dominican Republic where they kind of they kind of know when to do it and when not to do it. And unfortunately, these guys got caught.
Right. I've got to imagine that it's more common than people really talk about down there. That it's such a cutthroat thing, and people trying to get there. I mean, this is a $10,000 bonus that this guy signed for. $10,000 is a lot to a family
Yeah,
in some of these places. And so if they're trying to fight for 50,000, $100,000 bonus, and step over behind the wall and do a little something that you don't want to talk about, and that's going to help get you that bonus, and that might help change your family's life and help get you an opportunity that you might not have elsewhere. I mean, I understand why people do it. There probably isn't even the stigma down there that there is here. It's just like, oh, you got to do what you got to do.
yeah,
um, but that's the dirty side of baseball.
yeah. All right, well, let's get on to some fun news and an interview that Madfriars had with Henry Baez. Um, we'll start here. In the 6 months before the Padres signed Henry Baez for a $125,000 bonus in July of 2019, he'd already gone from throwing in the mid 80s to the low 90s. There was hope that he'd continue to grow and add more velocity in the system. After the lost 2020 season, he began his career in the Dominican Summer League in 21 before coming stateside for the first time in 2022 and earned the nod as our top pitching prospect in the ACL. That's from Madfriars. He took another step forward last year, posting a 3.24 ERA record ERA with 85 strikeouts and 39 walks in 83 and a third innings for the Storm. This season with the Tin Caps, he's got 76 strikeouts and 72 innings pitched with just 24 walks and 16 starts. Quote, he's fun to watch because he's mature beyond his years, says Tin Caps manager Mike Daly. His dad pitched for a while in the Dominican, and you can tell Henry absorbed every bit of information he could from him. He continues to take step forwards, and what impresses me is the ones he takes daily to improve. He can slow the game down and compete regardless of whether he has his best stuff on any night. We always feel great when Henry is on the mound for us.
This is where Matt Fryer starts asking their questions.
Yeah.
Your manager with the Storm said your fastball was always very good, but he thought your other pitches, particularly your split change, took the most significant step. Henry says, my best pitch right now is the two-seamer. So yes, I thought that one took the most significant jump, but I also liked how my splitter got better. What pitches do you throw? Two fastballs, both the two and the four seam, curve, and a splitter. No slider, and my splitter is kind of like a changeup. I feel like we're seeing more of that in baseball. People
Yeah.
don't really throw a pure splitter; they're manipulating it. What are you trying to improve upon the most, Henry? I'm trying to improve upon my curve and get it more in the zone. If I can do that, it will help me get to double A. I need to be able to throw it to get misses and called strikes.
How do you like the early snow in Fort Wayne? So he's already up in double A, but they asked him about the snow in Fort Wayne. He laughs a little bit. I had never seen it before and not enough to live with it, but not enough to live with it. So it snowed a little bit, but yeah, most of these guys never seen snow before. So when they get to Fort Wayne, it's a whole different ball game. Trying to play baseball in that weather from someone coming from the Dominican Republic.
Cold,
Question.
there's a pain to being cold that if you've never experienced it before, it's got to be just such a weird shock.
Yeah, absolutely. What are your biggest goals this year, Henry? It's always about getting closer to the big leagues. I am focused on where I am and trying to improve. For now, I want to get to San Antonio because that will put me close to my overall goal of making the major leagues. The best way to get there is to keep working on my pitches to perform better in games.
And
And
boy,
he's
is he
there
getting it
now.
done this year.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's take a quick break here and we'll come back with the affiliate rundown. Real quick before we get into the affiliate rundown, the DSL is still going on.
We had a little fact checking in the break.
Fact checking while we had a break there. All right, so let's start it up with the ACL. They finished up this week, Thursday, for painting corners. The Padres allowed only 2 hits in 7 innings. Humberto Cruz was the Padres' #2 player behind Vries in this year's international free agent class. Made his second professional appearance before allowing 1 hit and recording a strikeout. The 17-year-old out of Mexico was already up to 97 with his fastball.
Woo!
And Brian Balzer followed with 2 no-hit innings of relief. The 19-year-old Balzer, a native of Yokosuka, Japan, is technically still on the 60-day IL as he works back from injury, posting a 6.34 ERA in the desert in 7 innings of work in his first professional season. The dual national righty had Tommy John surgery soon after signing as a free agent in 2023. Balzer was relieved by Zach Quinn, who also threw 2 no-hit innings. The 6'1" southpaw shined while working back from a minor injury this spring. In his second tour of duty in Peoria, the 19-year-old posted a .82 ERA and struck out 14 batters in 11 innings pitched in 2024.
I'm going to need to know more about Brian Balzer. He's a Japan native. I wonder if that's because his family is military and they were stationed
Right.
there's a lot of people that are born in Okinawa, or if he grew up in mainland Japan and in the culture and all of that stuff. That's an interesting
Yeah.
twist there.
We'll have to see it. We'll have to talk about it when he gets up to Lake Elsinore.
Yeah. So on the screws on Tuesday, Lamar King Jr. drew a walk and socked his 5th triple of the season, which ranks 5th on the circuit. He was also hit by a pitch for the 9th time in 139 trips to the plate this year. Catcher has been limited to designated hitter as he works his way back from shoulder surgery, but the 20-year-old has posted a strong 840 OPS, his second full season in the desert since the Padres drafted him in the 4th round in 2022. And since the time of that posting, he was called up to Lake Elsinore.
Yes, absolutely. And I didn't put that down lower. So you'll get that news here in just a minute. So moving on to Lake E, painting the corners Wednesday, Jose Luis Reyes delivered a strong outing for the Storm. The 20-year-old righty from Mexicali allowed just 1 earned run over 5 2/3 innings. After posting a solid 3.86 ERA in the second half for the Elsinore last year, Reyes at 6.92 ERA this season, despite improvements on both his strikeouts and walk rates. That's another one of those where you don't scout the stat line. Like, he pitches pretty well, but just runs into those innings where he just gives up a bunch of runs. And then Friday, Ian Cohen pitched well again, tossing 4 shutout innings to start things off. He allowed just 2 hits, walked 1, and struck out 3. The 23-year-old has stretched out slowly after undergoing Tommy John surgery last season. Over his last 3 starts, spanning 11 innings, he's allowed just 2 earned runs while punching out 12 batters and walking just 1 batter.
That's an imposing figure on the mound.
Yeah.
I caught some of that game. He's not I saw him out there and I'm like, hey, he's tall. I looked him up. He's like 6'2". He's not particularly tall, but big guy. He's got the long blonde hair. He kind of looks the part. All right, so then on the screws, on Thursday, the Storm won in extras. Leodalis de Vries hit a home run and scored a pair of runs while also working 2 walks. De Vries is slashing 333, 452, 754 with 8 home runs in 69 at-bats this month, pushing his production for the season up to 17% above league average. Here's a clip of the home run right here.
Fast forward 5 or 6 months. There's a drive hit into left field. That ball's hit pretty well. That ball is it's off the top of the wall. And unfortunately, de Vries is only going to get the first base because I think he thought it was gone as well. And now they're going to call it a home run. I guess it did go over the wall. Okay. So I got fooled. De Vries got fooled. Fortunately, the umpire, Zach Hovick, did not get fooled. And the manager for the Rawhide, D. Carner, is going to come out and talk to the home.
So both the home runs he hit this week were on those hanging curveballs that you saw. The ball hit the sign, and then like it hit a sign, and you're like, "Oh, that's off the fence." So he stopped because it was roped. But then the umpires did this, and it was a home run. So there's a sign out there in left field above the regular fence. That is, I guess, not a part of the fence. So he hit that, and it was a home run. Game time.
Yeah, we got to talk to the people in charge up there, and next season they need to move that fence, that sign, move that sign back like 3 or 4 feet, something, right. Create a little separation there. So Jacob Campbell smacked a pair of singles, including a ball through a drawn-in infield to drive in the winning run. The 24-year-old is slashing 277, 372, 385 in 65 July at-bats for Lake Elsinore. He was signed as a catcher. He was playing catcher mostly. He started in center field the other day. Kid's an athlete.
Yeah.
Anyway, here's the walk-off clip.
Chase Valentine is 90 feet away from a win for the Storm. Here comes the 0-2. And that's grounded, and it gets through into right field. Chase Valentine is going to come in, and the Lake Elsinore Storm have won the ball game in walk-off fashion on Jacob Campbell's single into right field. Jacob Campbell singles into right field. Chase Valentine, who was on third, he was the designated runner here in the 10th inning. He walked home, and the Storm have won the ball game.
So epic.
All right, so then on Saturday, infielder Jose Sanabria had 3 hits on the night to extend his hitting streak to 8 and his on-base streak to 16. The 21-year-old right-hander collected his 5th double of the month. Shortstop B.Y. Choi, who joined the club following a completion of his ACL season, made his full season debut with a pair of hits and a walk.
Yes. Another kid we talked about a lot during the ACL season. So moving on to batting around. So the ACL season wrapped up Thursday, and the Storm received some reinforcements from the desert. Shortstop B.Y. Choi and catcher and designated hitter Lamar King Jr. So Lamar is just DHing right now. I don't think he's behind the dish yet. So he's just DHing, I'm pretty sure. So that's really going to have him. Both of them have already got their first hits. I got Lamar King Jr.'s, I think B.Y. Choi's first hit. I missed Lamar King Jr.'s first hit. He had 2 a couple games back. But yeah, those guys are up and starting their, affiliate careers. The 20-year-old infielder hit just 191 or 220 with 225 between Fort Wayne, Lake Elsinore, and 1 game in the.
You skipped a point there. In a corresponding move, Alain Camus was released.
Yes.
That's your 20-year-old infielder that was hitting below the Mendoza line, getting on base at a 220 clip and slugging only 255. Yeah, and I remember first time I saw Alain Camus, I saw a picture of him, and he had this like crazy blonde pink hair. And every time I've seen him, he's got this striking look about him.
Yeah.
But some people are all about the styles, some people are all about the game. So the game's gotta hold up for the style to play.
Absolutely.
All right, so moving on to Fort Wayne. Painting the corners on Wednesday after Manuel Pinales had his worst outing of the year where he gave up 5 runs over 5 innings, Bradley Rodriguez threw the last 2 innings and struck out 5. The 20-year-old has not allowed a run over 9 1/3 innings in his last 6 appearances, striking out 9. An eighth-inning single was the first hit Rodriguez had allowed since June 30th. The 20-year-old with big velocity has not been scored upon in 10 of his last 11 appearances. How many teams do you think asked Preller about Bradley Rodriguez in
Yeah.
these trade negotiations? Like, hey, how about you toss in that guy? Single A reliever, just toss him in. No.
No.
I'm glad
Nope.
he stuck around.
Heck yeah. Here's another one we're glad stuck around as well. Thursday, Jagger Haynes, whose legal name is Coleman. They showed the graphic. They showed the graphic on the Tin Caps game. And I texted John Nolan. I'm like, is this right? I took a picture of it, sent it. He's like, that's his legal name. Jagger, I guess, is his nickname.
But he's been Jagger. Like,
Right.
we need to talk to Jerry about this. We talk to his dad, because I think he's been Jagger like forever, right?
Right. And I don't know why they put Coleman up there, but that's his legal name. So
They must have been on the road. So then you're trolling the guy a little bit. Like, oh, hey, Coleman, come on, Coleman.
All right. So he struck out 9 across 5 innings with only 2 earned runs allowed. He walked 3. The 21-year-old southpaw struck out 70 and held opponents to a 229 average this season. Then Dwayne Montos continued a stellar July with 5 outs of 1 hit ball. The righty owns a 1.5 ERA in 6 appearances in the month, striking out 3 while walking 1 in 6 innings. And then Friday, Braden Nett, Fernando Sanchez, and Manuel Castro teamed up for Fort Wayne's 6th shutout victory of the season. Nett started and went the first 5 frames. Tin Caps pitchers struck out 10 as Sanchez led the way with 6 over his 3 innings of relief. Good game for those guys.
You know what we skipped over on the ACL section? On the same day that Dylan Cease pitched his no-hitter at Nationals Park, the Padres ACL team threw a 7-inning no-hitter down in their league. Yeah, as a combined no-hitter in an ACL game. So it's, a little footnote, but still, it's an accomplishment.
Also going to be a little bit of a trivia.
True.
That's some bizarre Padres trivia. So,
ooh, speaking of bizarre trivia, going way off the rails. Have you heard about Danny Jansen and what he has the opportunity to accomplish later this month? Oh my God, blowing my mind. Okay, so Danny Jansen, catcher, started the season with the Blue Jays, got traded to the Red Sox a while ago. This isn't a recent trade. But earlier this year, the Blue Jays were playing the Red Sox in a game when rain happened to descend. Danny Jansen was at the plate when the game got suspended. They're going to resume that suspended game later this month. I think it's August 28th. And he has since been traded to the other team in that game. Now, to make matters worse, the catcher for the Red Sox at the time just got designated for assignment. He's the guy that Cal Quantrill was chirping about something that he did in the parking lot one time that got him arrested. So anyway, that guy's been designated for assignment. So now there's a good chance that Danny Jansen is going to be the Red Sox catcher when that game resumes play. And the batter of record at that time will be Danny Jansen in the batter's box.
Oh, that is bizarre.
He'll be the first, if this works out, he'll be the first player in Major League history to play for both teams in the same game.
Oh, that is so awesome. I love that. That's only that stuff happens in baseball. And then just today, this always happens as well during the season. Was it Paul DeJong? Whatever team he's playing with, he just switched over to the other side. Now he plays for the Guardians. So he got traded across the diamond for, I can't remember what team he was playing for, but they're playing the Guardians, and I believe he just switched, went over to the other side.
I want to see one of these guys just like walk up the steps and then like take off their jersey and like strip down to their sliding pants and their workout. I mean, they got workout gear on under their uniforms. So it's not like he's stripping down to skivvies, but just like take all the stuff off, put it in a pile, go walk across the diamond and go dress up and sit down on the bench right there like that. But I love that. I hope that the Red Sox make it happen just for all of us baseball nerds out here. All right, so moving on. On the screws, Romeo Sanabria added 3 more hits on Wednesday, giving him 5 in the last 2 games. Surprisingly, Sanabria has not homered since his promotion to Fort Wayne, but the former 18th round pick maintains a respectable 286, 374, 357 line. Now, you've gotten a chance to watch him a few times in Lake Elsinore. he doesn't strike me as a fly ball guy. He strikes me as a line drive just machine. That's his swing is grooved to
Yeah.
produce line drives. And if he happens to elevate one, then it's going to leave the yard, right?
Yeah. And he has since then hit a home run. He has got one home run in high A. And
Hey, all right.
and you know,
All right.
and with Romeo, just I don't, the power is going to have him move up, but as long as he just keeps hitting, the power will come. He's a big boy. Maybe they can tweak that swing where he does kind of elevate a little bit more. But right now, just keep hitting for average, man. That's all you need to do.
Yeah, I think that you find that as you move up to the higher levels, the ball just carries more, and as the guys get bigger and stronger, and the velocity that they're facing gets better. You just keep making line drive contact, hitting the ball hard all over the field, and it's going to happen. I mean, look where Josh Naylor has become, and now he's a slugger, and everybody said that power would come, and there it is. All right, so after the first month of the season, a pair of tin caps have been among the league's best. Since late May 1st, Anthony Villar is slashing 278, ninth in the Midwest League, 393 on base, which is fifth, and 429 slugging, which is 12th. His 822 OPS is eighth. He has 6 home runs and 41 RBIs, which is fourth. He's up there in every single leaderboard category. He has a 17-game on-base streak. Last Friday, he was the first tin cap with a 4-walk game since 2022. It's going to be hard to have that kind of discipline in high A. Yeah, you're up there thinking, I've got to hit my way out of this level. And just to stand there and have the patience to, no, let it come to me. Let the strikes come to me.
All right, so moving on to Saturday, catcher Ethan Salas had 3 of the team's 12 hits, including a home run and a double. The homer came off a rehabbing ML pitcher too. So I can't remember the name of the guy, but that was the opposite field home run. Fort Wayne matched its season high with 7 extra base hits with 3 doubles, a triple, and 3 homers. The Caps also tied their season high for most runs in an inning as they played 7 runs in the top of the 4th inning, at that point breaking a 2-2 tie. Romeo Sanabria launched a 3-run homer in his first since being promoted. Yes. I knew I had it in there somewhere.
Yeah, well, Salas finally got his first couple homers of the season. It took a while. But you got to remember the kid's 18, playing in a high level. High A is incredibly high for these guys. So you got to have some patience. You're talking about Robbie Snelling having his struggles, but he's 20. He's 20 playing in Double A. He's supposed to struggle. That's not supposed to be easy for anybody. I caught a little bit of Kyle Glazer was on with
Ben and Wood,
with Annie and Elston, and he was talking about how Snelling seemed like he was trying to be too fine. He was trying to locate the edges rather than just attacking guys. And it's the second full year in pro ball. You're making adjustments. You've got the coaches finally, working with you, trying to make some substantive change. There's going to be, I don't think you can look at him the same way that I see how you can look at Lesko and go, okay, the command's just not coming back. If it's not back by now, when? And we're trying different things and it's not working. Where Snelling, I feel like it's steps, it's baby steps, right, and he's going to get there. It's just a matter of time until something clicks. Salas, he's shown he started to hit the ball harder recently. He started to elevate the ball a little bit more. He was putting it on the ground a whole lot. It's just adjustments take time to take root. I mean, look at DeVries. I mean, gosh, he was struggling like crazy the first couple months. Then all of a sudden, July rolls around and catches fire.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing with, Salas was hitting really well in A ball, and most of those guys can hit a fastball. Once you get up to high A, there you get better pit. Once again, it's a next level up, and when you're that young, moving up one level is a big step. I love that they're keeping DeVries down there. I hope they keep him down there for most of the season, if not the rest of this season, to just kind of get his feet underneath him and maybe not mirror what they did with Salas and bringing him up to high A. The glove there for Salas is there. The receiving, the glove is there. It's the bat that needs to catch up, and that has plenty of time to catch up. With DeVries, the same thing. You're starting to see he's just starting to hit the ball really well. Let him build that confidence. Let him continue to develop in A ball. And then maybe at the end of September, if Tin Caps make the playoffs, I'm not sure if they won the first, where any of the teams are with playoff hunt, but if they make the playoffs, bring them up and give them a little taste there. So, it's all about development and allowing those guys to develop and being okay with where they're at. And the reason, like you said, starting to show that. Salas starting to come out of it a little bit, starting to feel a little more comfortable. So let those guys be where they are and continue.
Right. All right. So batting around with Fort Wayne here. Fort Wayne's had a weird season.
Yeah.
Out of minor league baseball's 120 teams, only 3 have suffered more one-run losses than the Tin Caps this season. Only AA Reading, AAA Indianapolis, and Single A Myrtle Beach have dropped more one-run games than the Tin Caps this year. On the bright side, Tin Caps catchers are 3rd in the Midwest League, a caught stealing percentage at 29%. Individually, Anthony Villar ranks 5th in caught stealing, and Ethan Salas ranks 8th. Villar's tagged 21 guys. Yeah. Ethan Salas has picked off 19. And I haven't seen Villar's throws. When Salas does something, the highlights go all the way all over the place. What strikes me with Salas is how quick his feet are, how fast he is from being in the crouch to popping up, and his feet are in the right position to just, it's amazing how fast those feet move under him.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to San Antonio and painting corners. For the last time, we're going to say this. Wednesday, Robbie Snelling labored for 3 innings in his first start after the Futures game. The lefty surrendered his 14th home run of the year after allowing just 4 in 103 innings and 103 and 2/3 innings last year. Snelling only landed only 32 of his 60 pitches for strikes, but did get 8 whiffs. He took a line drive off the back in the third inning, but remained in to finish the frame. While it's been a disappointing campaign, Snelling has a 3.65 ERA in July with 18 strikeouts and 12 1/3 innings. So once again, it just so you don't scout the stat line, but there's work to be done there, and it sucks to watch them have to do that with another organization, but the Padres need help, and that's what it costs.
Right. And we've seen how fast Preller can restock the minor league farm system. It's going to come. Just right now, boy, those shelves are looking a little bit barren. But, there's people to be excited about. Speaking of which, on Friday, Victor Lizarraga held the host Rockhounds to 2 hits in 7 innings of work. It took the righty only 83 pitches to cruise through 7 frames, striking out 8. This is the longest outing of his career. He owns a 3.78 ERA and 80 strikeouts in 78 2/3 innings of work at AA at the age of 20, no less. For those of you watching on YouTube, Donovan's going to edit a clean 6th inning video here. He earned Player of the Week honors. Congratulations, Victor Lizarraga.
Boom. Yeah. I think Victor also needs to find a little bit of velocity as well to kind of complement his arsenal. But once again, a young 20-year-old doing well in AA. This week, so with the Missions, there wasn't a lot of offense. I got a little bit here. So for On the Screws Wednesday, Marcus Castagnone hit a big 3-run home run that gave the Missions a lead. It was his 8th home run of the season and 4th this month. After posting a sub-350 slugging in each of the first 3 months of the season, the former UC Santa Barbara Gaucho was slugging .545 in July. And I really looked for some more consistent offense. They didn't score a lot of runs this week, so that's all you had for On the Screws with San Antonio.
You know who might be happiest about about all these minor leaguers moving around in these trades is old friend Jacob Marcy.
Yeah.
Did you see that? So Jacob Marcy is now in the Marlins organization. His buddy Graham Pauley is coming home, or at least coming home to him, coming to join him over there. He's got Adam Major coming to him. He's got Robbie Snelling. He's getting the band back together a little bit.
Back together. Although I think Pauley probably starts in AAA, and the rest of Martorella and Marcy are in AA, and and I hate to say it, are continuing to struggle. Are definitely continuing. Martorella had a game-winning hit the other day. But those guys are both hitting in the low 200s. I think Mortarella's hitting 190. It takes a lot. You forget through all this stuff and all these trades that we talk about that these are human beings. And when you're comfortable in an organization, it's the only organization that getting traded can come as a shock. I saw Sam Lewis today tweet just pictures of like a couple of face emojis, like, holy cow, all these guys are getting traded. People that he knows well. So you got to give these guys a little bit of time to get their feet underneath them, get used to a new organization, kind of get over the shock. One team doesn't want you, but the good thing is another team does.
Yeah, and you've come to learn who can you trust, who can you rely on, who can you talk to when you're having a rough time. What trainer is going to give you the right kind of advice. How do you make your way around the different ballparks and all this kind of thing. And now all of that is flipped upside down. It's rough. But on the bright side for all those guys, they're going to have more opportunities in the Marlins organization than they ever would have with the Padres. So hopefully they can make the best of it.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's take this home. Let's move on to El Paso. And I'm excited for Omar Cruz. I would like to think that he may have a chance at some point this year. On Thursday, Omar Cruz made waves in his first start for El Paso, striking out 7 batters in 5 innings of work. He was reacquired last December in the minor league phase of the Rule 5 draft. Cruz has a 3.72 ERA and has maintained the 35% strikeout rate he posted in San Antonio in 4 appearances since being promoted to El Paso. The lefty showed off his changeup on Thursday, getting 8 whiffs on 15 swings and inducing 3 grounders. Omar Cruz, Mexico native. We could use some La Raza over here in Petco. So whether it's him or Tirso or somebody else, I know there's a lot of fans that would love to see, the green and the white and the red flapping up in the wind for one of their guys.
You know what? I just realized that I didn't have Henry Baez's start. I think it was a Friday start on the rundown. God.
We got a lot on the rundown, so don't feel bad about leaving something out because there's so much to talk about. Right. So then on Friday, Nabil Crismat made the start, pitched 5 solid innings, allowing 2 runs on 5 hits. He walked 1, but failed to notch a strikeout. That seems very Nabil. He's definitely a pitch to contact kind of a guy. The 29-year-old has appeared in 5 games for El Paso since rejoining the organization. In 15 1/3 innings, he has a 5.28 ERA, although he struck out just 6 batters while walking 7. Strikeouts have never been his game.
No.
He's, got to induce the weak contact, get by with a little bit of guile and wit. I'm so happy to have Nabil back in the organization, but I want to see his smiling face at Petco Park one day.
Yeah,
and then finally, Jared,
bright white teeth of his.
Oh yeah, and it's just such an easy smile. He's just a happy guy. He's just happy to be there. He appreciates the opportunity. And then finally, on the pitching side, Jared Kollar made his PCL debut on Saturday. The righty labored to get into the 5th inning, tossing 93 pitches over 4 1/3 innings. While he struck out 5, he surrendered 3 runs in his first taste of the PCL. 3 runs in 4 1/3 innings is nothing in the PCL.
Right.
Kollar had gone at least 5 innings in 7 of his final 8 outings for San Antonio.
Not too bad. Not too bad. And once again, it's the cauldron in the PCL. So we'll see as this start this week goes. We'll see if we can't get that on the affiliate rundown for next week. But on the Screws, let's finish up with Tirso's terrific season continues with 3 singles on Thursday and 2 doubles on Friday. The 24-year-old has 3 straight multi-hit outings, pushing his line for the month up to a stellar 411, 457, 630, and he started for the first time in center field.
Oh, hey, how about that? Weren't we just saying that? He's left field only at this point. Maybe they're taking a look at him.
They're probably taking a look at him, but they wanted to get his bat. He is not. It's funny when I see him hit, and he starts running. He doesn't run fast, and it looks like he labors to get going. His back comes up, and you see those legs just start moving, and it takes him a little bit to get going. But hell, if he keeps hitting the ball, let's get him to the majors as soon as we possibly can.
Oh, let's hope. But in the meantime, we've got some new relievers to get to know.
Yeah.
We've got some old friends to, we'll have to get their new addresses so we can follow them in their new homes in lands far away. It's been an exciting trade deadline. I'm glad it's
Yeah.
behind us. All that stress and agony. Ha-Sung Kim is still a Padre. Victor Lizarraga is still here. Bradley Rodriguez is still here. There's a lot of people to be excited about. And we got a whole second half to continue to cover.
Absolutely. Until then, till next week, you can find me on Twitter at SD Donavan.
I'm at Zippy_TMS.
The trade deadline is done. Real quick, for so high a price for everything, there were a ton of moves. And I think Major League Baseball is really going to like that. I just wanted to say that before we signed off, that for as expensive as everything was, there were a ton of trades.
There were a lot of teams made a lot of moves. Those guys in the other dugout at Pickle Park right now made some really, really interesting moves. I hope they all backfire because I do not like them at all.
Yep.
There were some people that I thought the Padres were going to target that they didn't, but you know what? Let's hope for the best.
Absolutely. All right. See you guys.